Hello, it's time for you to wake up now. 您设定的时间已到。
Ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present a picturesque score of Passing Fancy.
日本您在日本有您地址，我们来提供一趟参加服务，有关这场服务的介绍话术，请拨打给非常联络。
On June 1st, 2009, 92 Pan-American students joined the Second Language and Cultural Immersion Program to China. Led by faculty member Dr. Si Chen and accompanied by Provost Dr. Paul Sale, these students embarked on a month's journey to explore the giant of the Orient. Hosted by Shandong Normal University in Jinan, students attended school to learn from Chinese professors on just about everything that entails the Chinese culture. In addition, they traveled to famous landmarks in the country, climbing the mountains of Taishan, visiting the Confucius temples in Qufu, and the terracotta warriors of Xi'an, as well as the capital of Beijing and the modern city of Shanghai. They've now returned to share their knowledge and experience in the Third Language and Cultural Immersion closing ceremony.
Although there are many study abroad programs at the University of Texas Pan American, there are key differences that set the Chinese Language and Culture Immersion program apart from the rest. With my experience in traveling to China with the Chinese Language and Culture Immersion program, I can say that this was a great opportunity for students to immerse in the Chinese culture, even though our stay was limited to 1 month. This prestigious program incorporated aspects that are not part of a typical study abroad program in our university. To me, one of the most important aspects was occupying the role of student ambassador by representing our university in a foreign country. Along with this, we had the opportunity to experience education from different Chinese professors and learn from their point of view about many aspects of the Chinese culture. This program helped me very much financially by offering a scholarship up to $5,000 to cover for every historical place we visited, as well as our tour guides who helped us fully understand the history of each of these significant sites. Our UTPA professor, Dr. Chen, as well as our teaching assistant, Oscar Morgaine, helped our experience in China be pleasant by maintaining communication between students as well as both universities. Having a designated body from the hosting university as well as being provided housing accommodations on campus allowed me to interact with Chinese students and experience closely a Chinese student's life. This definitely was a great opportunity to experience China, build contacts, make friends, and represent our university language and culture immersion program.
Reporting all roles, all passengers, you are B89, 10527, service to Tokyo Narita Airport.
Flying overseas was one of my first challenges. I had never flown before, and I couldn't avoid that little gut feeling knowing that I was going to cross the ocean for 12 hours. Upon arrival to our destination, which was Jinan, I realized that flying was just the beginning of many challenges I would have to face. Having no prior knowledge of the culture, the language, and the environment was very much overwhelming. Once we began our classes at Shandong Normal University, it was very difficult for me to adapt to the heavy schedule. Our routine consisted of having breakfast at the university hotel, then going to class where our Chinese professors taught us language, history, culture, philosophy, politics, and even the martial arts of Tai Chi. During our lunch breaks, we were offered a variety of Chinese dishes at the school cafeteria, and for dinner we just ate out at nearby restaurants. The combination of problems I encountered dealing with the strange food, the limitations with language, and the intense itinerary of 8 hours of class 6 days out of the week was tough for me to handle. It wasn't until the third week in Jinan that I learned to adjust. By finding the things that I liked the most, communicating in body language, and reminding myself that overcoming such challenges would only make me a better person.
The Chinese language has a vast history dating almost 4,000 years, making it one of the world's oldest languages. Mandarin, or Hanyu, is just one of 11 languages spoken in China. Taking into consideration that there are 1.3 billion Chinese inhabitants, it's no wonder Mandarin is the most widely used language in the world today. After studying a year of Mandarin Chinese at UTPA, I felt better prepared for my travel. Once we arrived at Jinan and began with the program, I had the opportunity to further improve my language skills with the Mandarin courses we were given at SDNU. Chinese is one of the most unique languages in the world. It is a tonal language with more than 400 meaningful syllables, and if the 4 tones are added, there are more than 1,200 syllables. Unlike alphabetic systems used in most countries, Chinese script is the only logographic written language still in use today. Countries such as Japan and Korea have incorporated Chinese characters into their written language. Constantly repeating words, speaking them out loud, forming sentences, and practicing with different scenarios were some of the methods that our language professors used. I was able to speak Chinese every day with each of my professors, and they taught me new, useful phrases. When out of the classroom, I would use what I learned when shopping and when interacting with the Chinese people.
Chinese cuisine and drink are indispensable to the Chinese culture as it is diversified as the country itself. The Chinese people have made great contribution in the aspects of food research exploration, created countless dishes with names, aromas, flavors, and colors that have greatly enhanced the dining experience and will most certainly discover new tasting meals that have not yet been acquainted with. As a country that pays great attention to courtesy, Chinese cuisine culture is deep-rooted in China's history. The Chinese culture has an admirable custom to respect others at the table, with the elderly first and minor special guests while always taking good care of children. The tradition of presenting the best or fine foods first to the senior members of the family has been observed for countless generations in the Chinese culture. Main dishes are prepared in a decorative form either by cut or other means and will be placed facing the major guests or elder people at the table. With the arrangement of the main course at the center and the complementing dishes evenly placed around them, as a visitor or guest in either a Chinese home or restaurant, you will find that table manners are essential and the distinctive courtesy displayed will invariably add to the enjoyment of your meal and keep you in high spirits.
To me, the most impressive part of my China trip was the realization of the power of different cultures to assimilate rather than conflict with each other. Since this was the very first time I traveled to a foreign country, I was very worried about the language and culture barrier at the beginning. Besides knowing that our professors in China are teaching in English, which is their second language, I was also concerned about the imagined communication difficulties in a classroom setting. However, despite all these challenges, our lectures had gone pretty well and we were not only able to learn a lot from the lectures, but also build a bond with our professors, which helped to create a very open and supportive classroom environment. The smooth and effective communication in the classroom setting gave me confidence and also allowed me to open my heart to various other experiences such as Tai Chi. Given the unique nature of Tai Chi, which is deeply rooted in Chinese culture, I could never imagine that one day I would learn to love it. However, it happened during my 1-month stay in China. With an open heart to Chinese culture, I not only enjoyed my Tai Chi classes, but also found the philosophy behind it, which features harmony and balance, both attractive and beautiful.
Over the years, the Chinese government has evolved at a fast pace. This government is very complex and unique. Our politics professor made sure we learned as much information as possible during our stay in China. China's current government came into power in 1949, and its legislative branch, the National People's Congress, composed of 2,987 deputies and a standing committee of 175 members, run the government. There are 56 ethnic groups in China, Han being the largest of these groups with 91.9% of the population. The country is not divided into states, it is divided into provinces such as Shandong, where the program took place, municipalities like Beijing, autonomous regions like Tibet, and special administrative regions like Hong Kong. The last one being the most interesting as a result of the special status of freedom they have. Special administrative regions was a subject that really caught my attention because they may exercise social, economic, political, and cultural systems different from those on the mainland regions of China. That is why people sometimes say that Hong Kong is a capitalist pearl in a communist oyster. The only restriction that they have are the right of state sovereignty, which means foreign and defense affairs fall under the responsibility of the central government, except for the development of economic and cultural ties with foreign countries, which they can do in their own name.
The one-child policy is one of the most controversial laws a modern country has ever dictated. To the Western world, this law or policy violates the rights of people to decide how many children a family can have. But why would the government impose such a law to begin with? The Cultural Immersion Program has helped me answer the questions I had about this and many other important issues in China from the people directly affected by this law. At first I was somewhat hesitant to ask about a one-child policy, expecting someone to be insulted or perhaps they would be afraid or uncomfortable to answer my questions. It turned out everyone I would ask would give a very prompt answer. I noticed they were a little anxious to teach me about how it works. Even if their English was limited, they would try their hardest to explain. I was also surprised to meet so many people that had siblings, sometimes more than one. For example, my buddy Chen Yan had a sister, and one of our tour guides, Lily, had a few siblings herself. When I told them how many siblings I had, they were very surprised. So when did this policy come to be and why? The Chinese intention with this policy was not to impose the government's will on the people, but rather as a concern for the country's population getting out of control. In China, having more than one child stressed Chinese society both economically and socially. As we all know, China houses 20% of the world's population, so they felt that they should do something about it. One of the initiatives they came up with was the one-child policy back in 1979. Now the government is realizing this wasn't the best idea after all. In a few years, China's population will be composed mainly of third-generation citizens. The economy is expected to suffer because of this. It will be interesting how this subject will unfold in the coming years. I've learned that one of the valuable aspects in immersing into a culture is that it has offered ways for me to understand the challenges China faces and eliminating my preconceptions by listening to the people who deal with the issues firsthand.
I believe one of the main purposes of the Cultural Immersion Program was for me to create an understanding of who the Chinese are based on the knowledge and experience I would obtain with the class lectures, the tours, and the interactions with people. Having been immersed more than once in China has been more than enough for me to be able to identify certain common characteristics between today's Chinese society and the teachings of the most influential philosopher in China, known as Confucius. China has undergone many changes throughout history, from their political system to the size of its territory, but somehow they've kept certain virtues that were considered universal truths by Confucius and later passed on by his followers. Virtues that have now turned into customs and into a way of life for many Chinese. Although it's true that there is much diversity in China and that not everyone is the same, I was amazed at how most people share many moral qualities that reflect a great deal of humbleness and simplicity. It is Confucius' morality to respect the elderly, obey authority, live in modesty, practice discipline, and demonstrate gratitude. I've been able to recognize this as a common trait in the Chinese culture, to which I give much credit and great admiration.
Relationships are powerful. Our one-to-one connections with each other are the foundation for change. And building relationships with people from different cultures is the key in building diverse communities that are powerful enough to achieve significant goals. Because I wanted more than snapshot recollections of my journey, I traveled with an open-minded heart. This gave me the opportunity to form special relationships with a variety of individuals. Dr. Chen, who had the patience to deal with the group for the last 2 weeks of the program. Cindy, the program coordinator from Shandong Normal University, whom we became very close to. We were also paired up with SDNU students who served as our buddies and interacted with us in a variety of ways. They gave us comfort and guided us throughout the city, but most importantly, they gave us their invaluable time and friendship. Also, Liang Yong Zhou, the Deputy Director of International Programs at SDNU, committed himself to someday have us back in China, either as an English teacher or as a graduate student with a scholarship from Shandong Normal University.